Hello and welcome to Edupedia World. So right now we are just inside of After Effects and we will be trying to add some 3D objects to some video. So the video we are going to be working with today is this video clip right here, and it's basically a video clip that I shot in our living room. It's shot in 4K, and I'll explain to you why. The explanation is basically that I just needed a lot of resolution because we're going to be doing 3D tracking. So when you're working at it as a 3D artist, you can do all sorts of useful stuff using 3D. And what I want to do is actually use 3D tracking and some basic 3D modeling to basically take a painting and put it onto the wall. So let's say you were an architect and you wanted to know how a sofa or a painting or something would look in a house, and you didn't want to like go and get the sofa and the table and all the stuff. You could instead just film the house and then add it all in CG, and this can actually be done pretty easily. So let's just call this footage. The reason why I added these markers was so that the 3D tracker would have some texture to track, because this is basically just a white wall and it can be pretty hard to track. So let's just try and click track camera and set it to a detailed analysis. So right now we're doing a 3D track. I tried doing this earlier, and the tracker doesn't actually use these tracking points, which is a little bit sad, but it's quite alright. If you're using something like Nuke, which is another program that can do the same or even more as After Effects, you can do custom tracks where you would go in and actually do what the tracker is doing, like tracking different points. You could go in and then do a custom track where you track each of these points, and that would give you a very nice 3D track. So I'll just let this go through the video. You can see it's a third of the way done. So let's just, in the meantime, let's just talk about what we'll be doing. So right now we are tracking this video, and that will give us a tracked 3D camera. So we want to create a plane that is situated here on this wall, and then when we have this plane, which is 3D, and we have our 3D camera, we can actually export these the plane and the camera into the 3D program called Cinema 4D Lite, where we can create a canvas and add a painting onto the canvas. So let's just try and find some pictures that I downloaded from the internet. So they are in this folder. Here you can see I've got 3 pictures of paintings. So this painting, and this painting. And let's say you wanted one of these paintings on your wall, but you didn't know which one. You didn't know which one would look the best. Then we can actually help by doing this. So this is done in about 5 seconds, and now it's just starting to solve the camera. There we go, and we will see that we get a very high average error. There you go, 2.43, and that may seem bad, but we can actually make it work. So I'll just take these points over here, right click, select create solid and camera, and if we just turn down the opacity of this guy just a bit, we will see, let's just turn the quality down a bit. If I scrub through this video, we will see that the blue or Turkish box is actually tracked almost perfectly, and I would actually say perfectly, onto that square or that weird ass painting over there. So we can actually get something nice even with an average error of 2.43. For this kind of tracking I would prefer to use Mocha, but since that's a paid program I won't be using it. So let's just select these points on this table over here, and I will tell you why in a second. Let's just try again. I want to select the points that are just on the table, not the point down there. I'm trying to select some points that are going to be flat, because I need to define the ground area, or the ground level I should say, and it can be pretty tricky. I think this is alright. So as you can see, this kinda sits on the table. Can also try moving a bit over here, try doing it again. So I want to try and get some points that are on the table, and these looks like they are on the table. So I want to right click and then say set ground plane and origin, and I'll hit OK. And this basically means that a whole scene will now be the right way, like the program will know where the ground is. So that's pretty nice. The next step will be to take this this blue square and actually drag it out and try and place it on the wall. And I'm actually just eyeballing this because since we didn't have any points right here, we couldn't have just made the plane right on these points, so I have to move it in place. And since this is like a we are actually in 3D, like in the space of this room, we can move it around like this and not screw anything up. So just try and move out here, move it down, move it to the right a little bit. So right now we've actually got all that we need in order to move on to the next step. So I'll go up here, have my composition selected, go up to File, Export, and then I'll choose Maxon Cinema 4D Exporter. And then I'll do painting on wall tutorial. There we go. It's now saved. And I'll then go and find my file. So I think this is where I saved it. Painting on wall tutorial. I'll go into project and then just drag it in like that. And as you can see, we can actually just take a Cinema 4D Lite file and import it straight into After Effects. So what I will do now is that I will highlight this file, edit, and then do edit original. And this will open up a Cinema 4D Lite like this. And now you can see that we are inside Cinema 4D. And what we have left is our 3D tracked camera, which is this guy right here, and our solid. And if we go back into After Effects, this is our solid, and as you can see, the solid stays stationary and the camera is moving. So this is what I'm talking about when I say we have a tracked camera that imitates the movements of the original camera. So as you can see, this guy is my camera, and I've been moving the camera almost exactly like this through a room. So as you can see, we've got the ground down here. This is like the ground, the floor. We've got walls and all that kind of stuff. So you can see we can actually just build up a like a CG room or something. And I think we'll be doing that sometimes in the future. We'll be doing like water simulations through a room. Imagine that, water pouring down through the windows, flooding the whole place. No, enough about that. So as you can see, we've got this tracked camera, but we can't really see what's going on. We can't see the this video behind, and that's actually quite nice. So what I will do is that I'll open up the render queue, take our video and just drag it in here, and then I'll change the settings. I'll set it to QuickTime, hit OK, and instead of having the best settings, I'll set it to about a quarter of the resolution, because this is 4K. It would take a billion years for the program to work with that kind of resolution. And then I'll go into Cinema 4D, do Control D, and see what the FPS is in here. So it's 30 FPS. I'll set this to 30. I hit enter, like that. Okay. And then I'll find somewhere to save this. So I'll call it painting reference 2, hit enter, and then I'll just hit render. And this will give us a video clip that we can import into this program. So I'll create a material by just double clicking down here, then double click on this guy, and I'll go into the color channel, and then I will just find our video, which is in here. Double click, just say yes, and this will have created a material. And a material is basically like the color of some object. In this case, we will use this to color our background. I'll just go into editor, and then I'll say animate preview, because this is a video as a texture, and we want to see the texture moving. So I'll just close this and go up here and add a background and add the video or the texture. So I just took the texture and drag it onto the background. So as you can see, if we move through, we've got our background and then this Turkish plane. And this video background here, it's not going to be rendered, or it's not going to do anything. That's why I have so low quality. It's just for reference, because it's very nice to have a great reference when you're doing this kind of stuff. So let's now create our painting. So I will highlight my track solid, and then I'll hold Alt and click on this cube. And as you can see, here's our cube. I'll take this track solid and move it under right here, and I will just hit this guy so we get out of the camera. Alt click here twice so we hide the background, and then I will start dragging these small points out in order to create our painting. I will decrease the depth and show the background once again, and I'll actually hide this track solid. Just try and move it out of the place, see where it fits the best. So right here we are on the plane of the wall, so I can just move this around as I want. Alright, just keep it kind of close because we weren't too precise, so if I were to move it all the way off the side, it would go a little bit out of the track. But I think this looks quite alright. It's a pretty nice place to add the painting. So let's just do a little bit of modeling on this painting. Hide the background once again. I will highlight this cube, go into the object settings, and then I will highlight fillet right here, and this basically gives us some nice curved edges. I'll maybe decrease it just a little bit like that, so it's maybe 11. Go in here, Control R to render, and this is what we've got. So these curved corners, they just give a little bit of small highlight to the corners, and it just makes everything look a little bit more nice, a little bit nicer. There we go. So I will show the background once again, jump out of the camera, and I'll start editing this background a little bit. So I will increase the width, increase the height, and I will press E to move it, and then I will just drag in this blue arrow a little bit so that the wall gets behind the painting like this. Because this this blue background will actually be a shadow catcher. We will use it to create some shadows from this painting. So I'll just go in right here, double click, and then I'll go into color and change the color to white, because we don't want a blue wall. If I render once again, we can see we've got a painting with a white wall behind. I will actually I'll leave these guys. So now it's actually time to create the texture for this painting, or the material. So I'll just create first one texture that's going to be the color of the canvas itself. So the color will be just this color right here. It's fine. I'll go into Reflectance, Default Specular, and just change these a little bit to get a little bit of glossiness. And that's about it. I'll just take this and drag it onto the object like that. Go in to this position and just preview. It looks fine. So now what I want to do is add the picture to this painting. So I will double click right here to create a new texture. Double click, maybe call it painting. I will go into the color channel, and here the color texture slot, I'll just click right here, and I will go and find my texture for the painting. So interior design, paintings, and let's just start with this painting. So this will be the color. Sorry, I will just highlight the cube and press C on the keyboard. You can also, let's just undo this, you can also highlight the cube and click over here. That will do the same. What we've done now is basically made this object editable, and what that means is that we can go in and start moving some points around. You can take this whole corner right here and move it out to the side. Although that's not what we want. We only want to select a face of this cube. So we want to highlight this front face, because this is the face that we want to add our painting to. So if we were to just take our painting material right here and drag it onto the cube, then as you can see, the painting would be applied to the cube all the way around, also on the back and on the sides, and on the top, on the bottom, everywhere. It will be applied all over the place, and that's not what we want. So I'll go over here to this texture tag, and I'll just press delete. We want to define where the texture is placed. So I will highlight this front side like this, and now I will take my texture and drag it onto the front. So wherever it's highlighted, that's where the texture will be applied. So if we deselect, we can now see that the texture has only been applied to the front. And since we are using, if I click right here on this texture, we can see the projection is called UV mapping. Since it's set to UV mapping, it will basically fit the image to the selected plane, since we've only got one polygon right here. We've only got one polygon selected. So as you can see, there are a lot of polygons, but we only selected one, and that means the texture will be just stretched to that single polygon. So if we were to click right here and do Control R, or click right here, that does the same. It renders the image. We can see what we've got, and this looks decent, but we can make it a lot nicer. So let's just change this painting texture. I want to go into the reflectance and decrease the width, increase the height, and decrease the fall off just a bit, so we get a little bit more of a sharp end right here. Just -4, maybe -5, and there we go for the reflectance. The one that's going to sell this image the most is going to be the normal or the bump channel. We can try both. So if we enable the bump channel and add a texture, since we have already got our image right here loaded, we can just do texture, bitmap, and bitmap basically means image, and then just select the image. You can see we've selected this image now. So what this bump map does is that it goes in and looks at this image, open window, goes in and looks at this image and says, okay, where is this image, where does it have, can you say, where does it have a lot of luminosity, which could be these areas that are very white, and where is it very dark, which could be these parts that are very dark, closest to black, or this is close to white. So it looks at the luminosity of the image, and then it uses that to create like a bump. So it uses these it uses the luminosity to like create creases in this texture. So I will, since it's using the luminosity, I'll add a filter. Click on filter, and then I'll turn the saturation to 0, so it's only black and white. Also add a little bit of contrast. And maybe increase the bump value. I'll have to figure that out later. So if I render right now, you may be able to see that we have got some bumps in the image. You can do the same thing with a normal map, but instead the normal map will actually make the image move in and out along the normal. So if I enable this, choose our bitmap once again, and we can actually just try and do a render right here. This is looking very strange. Maybe it's because we need to add a filter. So as you may be able to see, if I decrease this, we are getting like, it's hard to say, but it's like the image is it's like getting some depth to it, especially in this area over here. It's getting a bit of depth, and that's basically what this normal map is doing. As you see right now, there's nothing. If I turn on the normal map, you get a bit of depth. If I turn on the bump map, you get even more depth. And this just helps to create some realism to the image. And in my opinion, that's pretty important when you're doing this kind of stuff. So I think that if we increase this bump value a bit, then right now we've got a quite alright image. As you can see from this angle, we've got a lot of bumpiness, and this looks like the paint strokes that would be on the picture. We can also go into the reflectance, maybe decrease the width a bit, like that, so it's not that reflective, because I don't think paintings reflect that much. From all these different angles, I think it looks quite alright. So I'd say this is now our final painting.
Thank you for watching Edupedia World. Stay tuned for more videos.